Good evening, everybody. How you doing? It's a Thursday. I'm just going to ask my audience to enjoy this live broadcast a little bit quieter, if you don't mind. Thank you. Because we have a full studio this time. It is packed. Standing room only, almost. Folks, not only am I tired, I'm pretty exhausted right now. Today was an interesting day. We didn't get a lot of courts done. And I just realized I didn't bring my notes, so I'll get those in a second. But yeah, today's an interesting day. So I'm going to forewarn you right now. We have a new ban, a new media ban, new publication ban. There's a new one from the Crown. We'll get into that one pretty quickly because it's going to affect what we can and cannot talk about. It was pretty clear that there's a new ban, and it's on particular information on the application that we're seeing today. So yeah, we'll get into that as well. I gotta tell you, I'm super tired. Super tired. I need some rest. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in our live audience, get Danielle to give us a quick little update on some procedure that we saw, and I'll get my notes and we'll finish this up quick. So this court summary is going to be relatively quick. Good news, I actually got you Tom Marazzo to come and talk to us a bit about his book and some other stuff, and then Jeremey MacKenzie is going to be popping on as well. I think we have Tom for maybe about half the show, and then maybe with Jeremey about half the show, but we'll see what we've got there. We'll use the time that we get. So without further ado, hello to my live audience. And Danielle.
Everybody's so tired. Everyone's like, oh yeah. We're back.
Hey, Danielle, how are you doing? This was a really interesting day for sure, and there's no doubt that we have a bit of an update here, but not much because of what happened in the court today. So why don't you go ahead and summarize that last little part you told me out in the hallway, and then I'll go grab my notes and I'll give the little breakdown of what we can talk about.
Yeah, so we're kind of shut down, we're not quite sure. I'm hoping in the morning we can get a little bit more clarification from the courts where we're at on that. We can give you guys an update if we're allowed to, hopefully. But yeah, they were closed when we kind of came out down at the offices to see if something had been posted, the official version of the publication ban and what that entailed moving forward, or what's, from the past even. So we're just going to make sure that we're covered before moving on with too much of that. But we are tomorrow, to use up the day, we are going to be reverting back to the original disclosure application that was started, I guess, day 2 of those first 3-week blocks of motions. Actually, it's Mike. We'll let Mike get away with that one. It's just Mike. So basically, we're reverting back to that original application, which does allow the Crown and the defense to start cross-examinations on the witness that was present for that first application. So there's an officer that will be up. I will be careful even saying names. I know it's been referenced in the media, but we're being super careful right now. So so this officer will return to our presence, and he will be questioned by the defense and the counsel. Those discussions with him up there are currently covered by like an intern media ban from the first motions. So we won't be able to report on anything that he said, but we might have a little bit more of an update as to the proceedings of court, because we aren't covered for that application specifically. So there will still be some stuff, and I believe probably the defense will be skirting around some questions with this officer as far as maybe kind of will help their other case along too if things do get opened up. But it does sound like it will be waiting a bit. So we're just going to have to be a little more patient. And this has been a massive test in patience, if anything else. It has been for a really long time. So I thought, I prelude back to saying we have no expectations, because this is why. Yeah.
Sorry about that, folks. I was texting Viva. So he's at dinner right now. He won't be joining us right now. And he was just asking if there's any good news. And I said, kinda. We'll talk later. So sorry about that. Kind of paying attention there. So Danielle, you're absolutely right. We can talk about the procedure stuff. We should stay away from names. We should stay away from the details, because at one point in the afternoon, a new ban. And I think you said media ban, but it's not a media ban. Yeah. But nonetheless, there is a ban in place right now, so we have to be careful with that. Today started off at 10:04 with the Crown going into a quick little argument to lay out from the day before a document, the defendant's brief. There was a statement in there that we're curious on whether or not it was privileged. So the start of the day with the Crown letting us know that there's no privilege in that brief. The judge asked if that was also the position of the RCMP, because they also have the privilege as well. And the Crown said the Crown's position is that they don't need to go to the RCMP because it's not privilege. The defense asked if we can find out if privilege is being waived. And then the Crown says it was not privileged. So this entire encounter was the Crown saying this particular part of the brief isn't even privileged anymore. And then we got adjourned at 10:10. So we had 10 minutes of court, actually 6 minutes of court. We got adjourned because the defense wanted some more time to reevaluate the context of the situation now, because it changed on them. It went from being advice to being action. So the advice from the Crown's office may not have even been advice at all, and it was just police action. So they went ahead and did an adjournment until, then we came back 8 minutes later at 10:18. The defense then asked for more time. So we were adjourned till 2 p.m. So the entire morning was 18 minutes or so of court. The rest was adjournments. And then we came back at 2 o'clock. It didn't start on time. It started a little bit late. The lawyers returned. Everything was stayed quiet. So this was interesting. So we came back from lunch. We sat down, and things were a little bit weird. The lawyers left the courtroom into the back with where the judge comes out. They came and talked, came out for a bit. They returned. We all started speculating that something big was happening. Maybe the envelope was going to be open and stuff like that. Not quite. Not quite. After a lot of time at 2:39, so we're now well into the afternoon, the judge announced that there was a security breach that happened today, and no phones, recording devices, and everyone was removed from the court, and phones were put into envelopes or your car. So there was I can't really get into the details of what actually happened, but there was a security breach, and we had our phones taken away from us, which we didn't mind, because we actually thought that maybe they're opening the envelope or something and they didn't want to have any phones in there for that purpose. Turns out our speculation was off as well. At 3:11, a judge to the Crown, if there are any more recordings, I hope you take action. So allowing the Crown and making it clear to everybody in that audience, in that galley, that the Crown will be on you if you do anything. And then the Crown made everybody know that steps have already been taken, whatever that means. I have no idea what that means. Maybe they can predict future crimes. I have no idea what that means. Unless they have everybody's name and they're checking everybody's socials or something like that, I don't know what that would mean. And then the Crown said, I would like to reopen the publication ban application. So at this point, we're now just after 3 o'clock. The defense, well, first the Crown gave their arguments on why they wanted the ban. The defense gave some arguments on why they opposed the ban. I got called up to give some arguments on why I opposed the ban, because I did talk to the defense a couple of days ago when the ban was being talked about, and I said I would have absolutely opposed it, being a citizen journalist, independent journalist. So I went up there and I talked briefly about that the legal system should be seen, and we should have access to it. Friends and family aren't there; they need to be reported to. And then at 3:37, the ban was put into effect, and that's where my notes end. So at 5:02, court ended. So that entire chunk, I'm not going to be talking about it because it was made very clear that the conversations that were happening at that point, everything, even the decision and stuff at that point on that item, not going to happen. We can't report on it. At the end of the day, though, we were told come back at 10 o'clock. And then, as you heard from Danielle, we'll be going back into the other application. I would love to tell you more. I really would, but I want to put myself on the record. I did oppose it, and I've already been told a few times they are checking out the show. So I absolutely don't want to touch that at all, especially after what happened with the security breach. They're taking the stuff very seriously. So unless, Danielle, there's anything else that you feel comfortable about talking about today, or anything I missed about, because there wasn't much that happened today. We had a lot of adjournments today, and then we had that security breach, and then we had this. Is there anything else that you feel comfortable mentioning? Yeah, sorry about that, Danielle. It looks like we've lost your audio, and maybe that's a sign. Maybe we'll take that sign right there and go. But thank you very much, Danielle. And what's that? It's shut down. Okay. Well, we'll get on with the rest of the show then with Tom, and we'll thank Danielle and Granny very much for telling us what they could tell us, and we'll have to find out some more details tomorrow. Okay. So thank you. Hello, Tom.
Hey, how are you?
I am tired. We're on day 4 of this trial
Yeah.
stuff, and
Yeah.
I was 4 hours sleep last night. Yeah, I'm tired.
Mhm.
But I'm actually very thrilled to see you today. How are you doing, man?
I'm good. And I just want to say, like, my heart is with the families and of these 4 men that have been incarcerated like this. I think of them very often. I along with Tamara Leach, when she was also a political prisoner, on 2 occasions, it was just as disgusting. I often think of these 4 men in the same light as the 2 Michaels. In this case, I don't want it to be in bad taste to say that we have our own Canadian versions of 4 Michaels. But from my perspective, that's exactly what's going on.
Right.
And, I don't know the secrets that the government is trying to conceal from the public or the justifications as to why they're doing it. But, it's on par. It's completely on par with what we have seen in Canada over the last 3 years. And if you really dig deep into the media, you'll see that this isn't anything that's new. The injustice in this country is not new. It's just we're starting to see it and wake up to it over the last 3 years. These kinds of horror stories have happened for decades in this country. And unfortunately, it's brought COVID in a tyrannical set of governments to bring it to the public's forefront, and it's just not the country that I recognize. And I know that it's a common saying. That's a common thing that people say that, I don't recognize this country anymore. But I have days where I start to think, did I ever know what country I was even living in?
Yeah.
And when I look at this is such a deliberate example of, how upside down Canada is that I thought we were better. I actually thought we had some form of a functioning justice system. But if anything has been proven to be true, we have an injustice system, and we don't have, justices that sit on benches. We have injustices that sit on benches. And, I'm not somebody, as a former military guy, I would never advocate for violence in any way because I know what that truly means. But I have these days where I feel like the public is being driven towards thoughts of violence at the very least. And I don't want to see that happen. And I'm human just like everyone else. I get triggered when I hear the 4 horsemen of the liberal apocalypse, any 4 of them speak. I get triggered, especially our benevolent chairman, Trudeau. I just, when I hear his voice, it raises my blood pressure.
Yeah.
I'm just a human being like every other Canadian, but man, these people really know how to push our collective buttons, don't they?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I'm tired too.
Yeah.
I'm tired too.
A long week.
Well, when I participated in the Public Order Emergency Commission, 7.5 weeks, and it was some long days. Average day was 10 days in the room, and then hours and hours after for the real lawyers that were doing the business. But these guys worked incredible. Like Brandon Miller, as an example, during the commission, be lucky if he got 3-4 hours sleep a day for the entire time. It's tough, and to sit there and watch, for 4 days what you're doing, because it's taking every ounce of energy and focus you have to pay attention to what's really happening. And you're trying to find out, what the hell are these, what's the game that these people are playing at? Is this some form of ridiculous legal ease? Are you going to get to the point? Are you going to say something that the common person can understand? Or is this all just misdirection? So, yeah, it's tough to sit there and watch these guys, especially if there's some theater involved. It's really difficult.
Yeah, it's sad because we do have some family here. We have the father of one, is Betty here? Yeah, we have the mother of one here. So we actually have family here right now. And it's very somber right now. It's very somber right now. I think we're all getting tired and we want to get some answers and some decisions for sure.
Yeah. I was just sort of chatting with Brendan Miller and Keith and stuff. I made a joke about Section 9 of the Charter of Rights, and they both corrected me and said, no, we're dealing with Section 11 here. I won't tell you the rest of the joking because it's not appropriate for on the media, but it involved swapping out the charter for toilet paper. But it's good to know which sections are the most absorbent.
Right.
So,
Right.
Now, I know Chris and Tamara have their trial coming up in September.
Yeah.
They're both facing 10 years in prison if convicted of mischief. As everybody knows, Tamara spent a total of 49 nights in a cell, 48 nights in a cell, 48 days, for taking a photograph with me.
Yeah.
She did 25 days in jail for being in a photograph with me because of her bail conditions. And this is unheard of. Like, to have a Canada-wide warrant for her arrest because she was in a photograph with me. Her bail conditions clearly stated that we could be together in the presence of our lawyer. And when she was arrested the second time, we were at a dinner sponsored by our law firm. Not only our law firm, the JCCF, but also her criminal defense team was all in attendance. And we were surrounded by lawyers. And really, I'd be lucky if I said more than 5 words to her. And, for her troubles, she did 25 days in jail on a Canada-wide warrant. Now, if you talk to any police officer in this country right now, they'll tell you that a Canada-wide warrant is never issued unless there's a violent criminal at large and is on the run from the police. That's when you get a Canada-wide warrant. Not because you took a photograph with a person that was on one of your bail conditions and the lawyer who was standing behind the person taking the picture wasn't actually in the picture. So hopefully you'll get to talk to Jeremey about his, and I know he's probably got some sensitive issues on his conditions as well, but Jeremey MacKenzie is another person in this country. He's a combat veteran, right? So first and foremost, let's get this out of the way and say thank you for your service, because your country really, really doesn't give a shit about you. Right? He's been debanked by all of the major banks. Okay. He's been, there may be some people in the audience that are fans of Pierre Poilievre, and believe me, at one point I really was too. I loved watching him in the early days slap Justin Trudeau around.
They're booing.
Okay, that's fine. We'll talk about the old Pierre and versus the new. But what I loved was when he used to bitch slap Trudeau all over question period, right? That was fun. Get the popcorn. Enjoy it. But as far as I'm concerned, he's the one who put Jeremey MacKenzie in prison on an incident that happened 18 months prior to. And that's how he flexed his muscle by getting the RCMP to go after Jeremey MacKenzie on a Canada-wide warrant. And by the way, Jeremey MacKenzie was never questioned by law enforcement, although he offered many times to sit down and let them question him. And they never did. And yet, they decided 18 months after an incident to issue a Canada-wide warrant and put him in jail for 2.5 months and 9 days in solitary confinement. Because he made a joke, and it was inappropriate, and he knows that. He made a joke about Pierre Poilievre's wife. Mm-hmm. That's what got him in jail for 2.5 months. Not the original incident, which, by the way, the RCMP wasn't going to pursue. until Pierre Poilievre decided to talk to the RCMP about Jeremey MacKenzie.
Oh, wow.
So we've got a political class that has rules for thee and rules for me. And they exercise that frequently while expecting us to believe that, we're all in this together, that we're there for each other, that they've got our backs. They're going to step up for us. The typical, slogans of bullshit. I hope I'm allowed to say that on here.
Yeah, Raptor 6, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. But, the reality is, I'm absolutely appalled by politics in this country. I'm appalled. I was a massive supporter, from Ontario. Okay, and don't anyone get upset, but I was, from Ontario. I was a supporter of Danielle Smith, and within the first week, she blew it. She blew it. You say what you want about Notley, but Notley will tell you right to your face that she's going to ruin your life.
Yeah.
But we elected somebody who is now basically saying, hey, I got the job. Thank you. I wanted it, but I'm not going to do what you wanted me to do for you. That, from where I'm coming from, is called pandering to get votes. Now that you're in, you've got your own agenda, and it doesn't include me or you. That bothers me tremendously. Be honest. Votes aren't the, they're not. Votes are not the only thing that you should be concerned with. I mean, yeah, you want to govern. You want to get into power. You want to do what you want to do. And you need to get enough votes to be able to do that. But do it with bloody integrity. Do it with some courage. Do it with some honesty and some good old-fashioned honor. We used to think that conservative politicians had guts. And they don't.
No.
They are liberal lights, all of them. And they're all caving to this woke agenda. And I find it disgusting. I mean, we want people to stand up and be heard and be accountable for the things that they say, and not get a picture with a guy who has a straight pride, writing on his shirt, and then all of a sudden start denouncing this guy in favor of a very small fringe minority of people versus the rest of us that are, heterosexual Caucasian people. And I don't mean that as like a slight against other ethnicities in any way, but it's not a zero-sum game where you can take the rights and freedoms, the freedom of expression away from the vast majority of people in an effort to make the minuscule minority feel better.
Right.
And that minuscule minority are not the people that put her into office or Poilievre or anyone else. It was the majority of people that put them into office. And why are we being ignored? Why are we being marginalized? Why don't we have leaders in this country that actually don't pander and stand their ground? I want to see John Wayne up there. I want to see somebody with some real grit. Somebody with some ethics, some strength, some moral courage. And what do we got? Panderers. And, people that are too afraid to offend anybody. I'm not a politician. I ran once in my life. I ran in one election a year ago in Ontario, and I lost. So be it. We followed the process, whether it was fair or not. I followed the system. I did what the system wanted. I lost. So what? But we get these people that get in there and they actually win. And then what do they do with the honor of being elected to represent people? They don't do what the people want them to do. They focus on Twitter polls and stuff like that drives their decision instead of the live human beings, the blood, sweat, and the tears that is in their office saying, why won't you listen to me? Why won't you help me? I didn't elect you people to lord over me. You're not a king or a queen. You're philosophically the same thing as a union representative. That's why you're in that office, to do what we tell you to do, not to make decisions. It's not power of attorney. And this is the fundamental problem that I have with the politics in this country. I think in my absolute heart that Danielle Smith should have intervened in this case.
Yeah.
I think she should have. She should have summoned her attorney general. Yeah. I think she should have summoned her attorney general to her office and said, we're doing a joint press conference together. We're not going to speak about this privately. We're going to do a joint press conference, and you're going to get up there and you're going to justify to, first and foremost, the men, then their families, their kids, and their communities, why this is happening and why it's not transparent. And where's the evidence, and where in the hell is their Section 11 charter right to timely bail? Where are their rights? Are we presumed guilty?
Yes.
Just by virtue of being stuck in jail for 529 days. We're saying that you're guilty. That's ridiculous. That's not the country that we're supposed to be proud of. It's sure as hell not the country that I was, sworn to protect. But here we are. Here we are. Spineless politicians that won't appropriately use the authority that they have, that they wanted to have. They won't yield it, and neither did they for Sheila Lewis. What did they do for Sheila?
They almost killed her.
Yep. And here we are. And there's that Jeremey MacKenzie guy popping up on the screen. I see. Nice shirt you got there, Jeremey.
It's the blue shirt mafia. I got some rain on it. Yeah. I heard what you were wearing, so I rushed out to make sure I had the same one.
That's good. I think I've had this shirt probably from the 90s.
I know. I've been watching you a long time.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeremy, for joining us. We kind of needed that laughter. It's been a somber start of this episode because it didn't go that great.
Interesting. What happened?
There's a new publication ban in place causing us not to talk about the big secret that's about to come out or not come out. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that happened.
The big secret, huh? Okay, and that's it. That's the whole.
We had about 18 minutes of court. We had lots of adjournments, and then we had a security breach. We had to remove everybody from the court, drop off our phones, come in, and then get this media ban or no publication ban put in place.
A security breach meaning like people were recording inside the courtroom or something, or
correct.
Who would do such a thing? I don't know.
Meet them?
What's pardon?
Do you want to meet them?
Who is it? Them? Is that the? I can't really see the small window there.
Yeah, they're in the crowd, but we're not going to point them out because.
Okay. Yeah, there's no need.
Yeah. So
there's
you had
no update then. Yeah.
Well,
so nothing's. Sorry, we keep talking over each other. There's been no update since we spoke this afternoon. Then
no, that I can't talk about. So once we get off the media, we can do that. Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm on the stream. I can't. And
I guess that's what I meant. Like as far as publicly consumable information, there's been nothing changed since this afternoon.
Correct. Sorry about that, but yes,
that's okay.
And interesting situation. Can we get an update on that?
Sure. What do you want to know? Besides my blue shirt that I stole from Tom's dresser.
How did it go on the 19th and what came out of it, if you want to update everybody on that?
Which was the 19th? That was...
your application for disclosure.
Right. That is going to be on the 21st. I think the judge is coming back with that. Our lawyers made a lot of headway in discovering a lot of evidence that suggests that the state is heavily, inappropriately involved in the case with the police and the prosecution's office and so on. A lot of, things that are just not supposed to happen. They're not proper or maybe even illegal. So he's filed an abuse of process motion that went in on the 15th, and the judge is going to come back with a decision on that at the end of the month. The Crown's defense was essentially gaslighting and saying, this is all made up or something, and we have their own emails, confirming their involvement, talking to each other and stuff. So that one is going to be interesting to see how much damage there is as far as the Department of Justice goes. The Premier's office is involved, the RCMP, the Halifax Police. Like, it just stinks in every direction. So that's it'll be interesting to see what kind of names come out of that, because if the judge rules that she's going to approve that, then we're going to really start getting some shovels and digging into that. So that's that case for now anyway, and then we'll find out in a month what happens with that. And then they had that other case drop on Monday.
Right. So you had 5 going at one time, right?
Yeah, there's feedback coming from somewhere. I had 5. Now I'm down to 4. This was the first one from the the gun charges back in January, right before the convoy. And they made a lot of hoopla and noise about that. And then at the last minute, trial was scheduled for Monday and Tuesday, and then shortly before they said, maybe we'll just not do it. Maybe we'll just because their case was not great. We'll put it that way. And I have a very good lawyer. He's very good at making these arguments and poking holes in the things that the Crown has done, and we've got witnesses and expert witnesses and all that stuff, and they just basically walked away from that one. So, and then that's going to lead into another. It's going to be a little while. So we've got that stuff at the end of August for the Nova Scotia's case regarding the chief medical officer, and then the next one probably won't make any movement until maybe the fall.
Wow. Now you've been following our guys here in Coutts for the last little bit?
Pretty much since the beginning. They tied it to me immediately and tried to make it into something that it's not. So yeah, I've been so skeptical of this whole thing from day one, and I'm not surprised at all to see this state of it, hearing the things that I'm not like intimately following like you guys are probably having, but the Crown's been recused, I understand, and some other thing. Yeah, so I'm not surprised at a lot of this. The day before they were arrested, there was, no reason for anybody to be. Everything just kind of changed overnight. Like somebody made a phone call, and they started coming up with these crazy allegations, and now you've got lying Levitt, Ezra Gilmore, we call him lying Levitt. He's trying to drum up this, trying to reignite this militia narrative. Which is dead in the water and never had any, alluding to things. He's read secret documents, I understand, hundreds of pages of things that you can't get, I can't get, my lawyers can't get, no one has seen, but he did because he's special. He's lying Levant. And he says that, oh no, you're going to see. I think he knows this is going to fall apart, and he knows he's never going to be held accountable to this. He can just say whatever he wants, and he's using his platform to try and enhance this narrative and push this further along than it needs to go.
Like he renewed this attack on you for some reason last week or so.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Oh, I'm in an interesting position. So because before, when I have all these charges, it's because I'm a terrorist and I'm a bad guy and I'm evil and all of this kind of stuff. And now, oh well, am I beating the cases? Oh well, that's because I'm a Fed. You can't win, right? They just want an excuse to hate me and criticize me and come after me, and they'll use whatever they can. It doesn't matter that it makes no logical sense. It doesn't matter that the timeline doesn't make sense, that there's conflicting interests, and none of that matters. All that matters is, I'm not an orange, blue shirt man bad. That's all that matters. Tom also blue shirt, terrible guy. It's very common. So,
well, I better get my blue shirt then because I'm falling behind here. Hey,
Tom, could, yeah. Well, it's the new terrorist dress code, I guess.
Blue is the new orange.
I don't know if you guys saw the Ray McGinnis article that he put out 2 days ago.
We helped him do that.
Yeah,
we helped him write that.
Absolutely outstanding article. I met Ray during the commission. He came out to Ottawa for a couple of days, and he was writing on it. So, if you guys are on social media, he's one of the authors out there that really, really digs hard, like right into the details. But he wrote a really good article. I think the article was pretty supportive of Jeremey as well. Mm-hmm. He's picking apart that connection between, Vice President Phillip and, the 4 guys. Like he's picking holes in this case, right? And he's doing it as a citizen journalist, which you don't see the mainstream media covering, which is the one question I wanted to ask. What's the mainstream media coverage of this been?
None. And 2 days of Ezra, and he hasn't been here for the last 2 days.
Yeah, he's crowdfunding for it, for something that he's not even doing, covering this Coutts thing. And I've, held off on. I didn't want to throw the guy under the bus or anything. And it is what it is. People run businesses. I understand that. But I worked with Kian Simone from Rebel News for 4 or 5 days on this story in February of 2022. Mm-hmm. Within a week, 2 weeks of the initial arrests in Coutts, and because they were still trying to understand what was going on, I told them all of the stupid Diagolon stuff, right? I sent them all the clips of the senators, the MPs, all these people, the public safety minister, all these guys saying this crazy stuff. And he was like, this is crazy. This is insane. How is this not a bigger story? And I agreed, and we worked on this. And then the night before, I was scheduled to have the interview, maybe Tuesday morning, something like that. Monday evening, they call and say, yeah, something came up. We'll have to get back to you. And they never spoke to me again, never heard anything. They never published anything. And then now that it looks like the case may be falling apart, they just kind of swoop in and decide that all of a sudden they do care, or are going to pretend to care anyway.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And
Yeah.
what we were doing was we're trying to get the word out all this time. And we had Newsweek help us. Now we've had Ray help us. But that's
I was supposed to speak to. I've had a crazy week. I was in court a bunch of times, and my lawyers were here and everything. So I had his number. I was talking to him a little bit, and I was supposed to get in touch with him and speak, probably for his article or not. But I did share it on my social media and stuff. So I appreciate him for doing that. Yeah.
I appreciate it a lot. Now, can we just kind of put to bed? You didn't have anything to do with Coutts.
No, I was in Ottawa the entire time. I wasn't in contact with anybody. I'm aware that there's people out there, like there was people in Windsor, there was people all over the place. I wasn't, there's nothing coordinated or anything. We had kind of a loose understanding, like, yeah, there's people there, there's people here, there's people wherever. But what, we were in Ottawa. I was focused on that and covering, talking about what was going on there, and I was following along in the news what was going on in the other locations, just like everybody else. And then I found out they had gotten arrested the same way everybody else did. And the facts that I have are the same ones that everybody else has.
That's right.
And I know what I did and didn't do. I know who I talked to and where I was and where I wasn't and so on. So when you see these, these CSIS reports and these RCMP officers and they're saying all of these things, I'm like, this just didn't happen. This just isn't true. And they have got the public order inquiry. You may recall, I was compelled to testify under oath in the box under cross-examination. And, I've just learned this recently because I've been watching the previous interview, Tom's testimony and others. They had the OPP, the RCMP, and CSIS all saying this Diagolon militia, man. They're, my goodness. And the media all week leading up to my testimony was, we were going to find out. And then I get there and the RCMP and the OPP and Paul Champ and all these people go, yeah, I declined to ask any questions. I just don't feel like it. That was odd. You find that strange. So you're going to say all these things, and then you get this, I'm the leader of the terrorist militia. I'm in custody. I'm under oath, in jail, and you don't have a single question. Okay. Mm-hmm. Strange, I can't, I can't answer questions that people don't ask me. The RCMP has never asked me a single question about this. CSIS has never asked me a single question about this. And this will be, Morgan, the 15th time. You guys know where I am. I'm not hiding. I've been here the whole time. They could have asked me anytime they wanted to. And I was in jail for months. They could have anytime they wanted to. They don't want to. They don't want to know the truth. They don't want to find out what's going on. They want to justify what they did.
Yes, 100%. So now, because you know what you know, what do you think's going on here in Coutts? Are these innocent men?
I think so. Absolutely. I don't believe for a second that there was any plot to murder anyone. I don't think that's true at all. I think that's crazy. I think that's just something they thought they could spin up to justify, tearing down the, the protests. And that's effectively what it did. They used that as the justification for the rest of it. They never found any guns or weapons or anything in Ottawa or in Windsor or anywhere else. And there was where are the arrests? Where's this militia you told everybody existed? Where are they? Because they were still out there. We declared a state of emergency because of this militia that's ready to strike at any time, and you've arrested no one. So ostensibly, they're still out there, aren't they? Why aren't we under an emergency? Where is the task force? Where is the police? What is happening with that? Oh, it all just went away because it was never real in the first place. It was all just a nebulous invention inside the machinations of people like Bernie Farber and the Canadian Anti-Hate Network. And that was, made very clear at the POEC. And I, stand by this till my dying day. Let's hope they never top this. But that was and is the biggest single intelligence failure in national history, probably in the G20. I don't think you'd be struggled to find another government get it this wrong, this badly, anywhere else in the world. Only in Canada are we this handicapped.
Yes, brother. That's exactly right. Yeah. Go ahead, guys.
Yeah.
Jeremy,
it's funny because the OPP commissioner, he made a statement when he was on the stand during the commission. And he said it was his absolute belief that the intent of whoever was behind this, he believed that there was somebody who was quarterbacking this entire thing across Canada. He said that he believed the intent was to spread out the OPP and law enforcement's resources as far and wide across the country as they could. And I can tell you, without beyond a shadow of a doubt, that is absolute BS. And you know why? Because during my time in Ottawa, we heard about it through social media and other things, what was happening in Coutts, what was happening in Windsor and other locations. We specifically did not want to communicate with any of the other organizations, the other protests. We specifically decided not to do that. And you know why? Because we knew that the moment we started talking to each other, we would be viewed as a national coordination center.
Right.
And they would broaden the net on an anti-terrorism, trumped up BS form of legislation, and they would invoke the Emergency Act a lot sooner. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that this is the way that they're going to think. We were not in contact across the country from each site to site. We deliberately did not do that as a means to protect the people in those other protests, because they were all organic. They started on their own, and to protect ourselves from being viewed as the national coordination center for this massive insurrection that never happened. It was a bloody peaceful protest, and we were smarter than that. And here's the thing. We weren't trying to stretch out resources of the police. We were trying to work with police. We were trying to partner with them to make it safe and responsible so that nobody would get hurt. Nobody would need to be arrested. That's what we were trying to achieve with them. And to this day, the highest ranking person I spoke to in Ottawa was a sergeant in the Ottawa police on the police liaison team. There we are on Justin Trudeau's doorstep, and the only person they can muster up is a sergeant. That's it. They didn't take us serious. And after a while, we realized what we were dealing with, and we weren't stupid enough to give them something more important. So as far as I'm concerned, to go back to the original question, yes, these 4 men are innocent. This is custom made because the government screwed up. They were looking for justification to invoke the Emergency Act. We embarrassed them. And so they had to create the situation. They decided to invoke the Emergency Act, then they had to find a justification for it afterwards.
Right.
And the more people you can, capture in that wide net across the country, the more it helped their case. And that's why these 4 men are in jail. That's the only reason.
I agree with that completely. Jeremy?
I'm sorry, I just got to dip out. My lawyer's trying to call me right now, actually. So I might be back in 10 or 15 minutes. So I apologize.
That's fine. Or you can throw Morgan our way if you want.
Yeah, well, I got to use my phone maybe she wants to, but
yeah,
all right.
Send her the link or whatever. We'll see in a bit, Jimmy. Yeah.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers. Now it's back to us. I want to talk a bit about your book. Now, I wanted, before I get to the book, because Tamara and because Chris are going to be in court, this is even affecting you and your book.
Yes. Yeah. So, a year ago, July, I asked Keith Wilson, I said, when do I find out if I'm going to be charged or not? He said, you'll either find out during the commission or you'll find out in about a year. One of the two. And I didn't find out if I was going to be charged or not during the commission. But in April, the end of April, Harold Jonker was arrested and charged on 4 counts, 4 or 6 charges. So 15 months after the convoy, they decided that they were just going to reach out and arrest Harold for his participation in the convoy in Ottawa. So we're looking at a very vindictive justice system coming out of Ottawa. So it's not outside the realm of possibility that I may be charged in the future. I don't know. But I think what's going to be important, my future will depend on what the outcome of Chris and Tamara's criminal charges are. I think if they get a conviction, they're probably going to be coming for a lot of us. That's just me speculating. If they don't get convicted, I think they're probably just going to say, all right, we're not going to waste more resources on this. But if Chris and Tamara get convicted, I can see them coming after a large group of us, myself included. So, I'm not out of the woods. But, the book, I've been advised to maybe reconsider when to publish the book. It's written. But The book is a very accurate timeline, right? It's absolutely an accurate timeline. It's not an embellishment. It's not, hey, we were great. We made mistakes. We really did make mistakes there. Because we were operating in the dark because the government refused to talk to us. They outright refused the entire time. So we were trying to get something going. We were trying to make things happen. And the government, the police would often misbehave. And we did things to try to get the train back on the cart here, or on the tracks, because they weren't cooperative in the way that we were hoping that they would be. We tried to build a rapport. It didn't work. And so this book is a very accurate, no embellishment. It's a very accurate book about what happened. Unfortunately, it's a timeline of what happened. And so the concern is that, hey, you put that book out in the public, it now becomes like a detailed timeline of what happened and who was involved and who was at what meeting and all this stuff. And if I do that during Chris and Tamara's trial, I've basically done some work for the Crown.
Right. And
But
you better
from
be
my
right.
but from my point of view, I think it helps them. But it may, if it depends on how you look at it, may incriminate me. But I don't care about that. I really honestly don't care about that. Like if they're gonna charge me, they're gonna charge me. There's nothing I can do about that. They're gonna make that decision. That's out of my control. But the best thing I can do is tell the truth about what happened behind the scenes and give that and put that into the hands of the public. It's their story. I played a minor role in it, but it's the public story, and they should know where their money went. What kind of activities, what were we thinking? Where their support and their resources, some of their donations, their food, their letters, they should know where that stuff went and to the people that it went to. And that's what I'm hoping to provide in the book. We'll see how it goes, right? But the book is going to come out regardless of what happens to me. I will publish this book in the fall. It's just a matter, what I don't want to do is hurt Chris and Tamara.
Yeah, of course.
That's the big thing. I don't want to hurt them. So
There's enough pain already. Like I've been
Yeah.
speaking with Keith as well, and he's trying to come back out from underwater here. Like he's
Yeah.
had some issues as well, and they're not fair. They're not fair.
No.
It's just other people who are pushing back or making things difficult.
Well,
So
the
it's happening to
infighting.
you too.
Yeah, the infighting has gotten excessively out of control. It's unfortunate. It's been extremely demoralizing to all of our supporters, to our supporters to see, people that participated in more visual or more public positions. It's really disheartening for the public to see some of the conduct of one group attacking the other.
Yeah.
I get that. It's demoralizing. And it started happening as soon as we all got home. Really, really disheartening. And I think his name, the guy who did the Great Awakening, he put out the video a month ago. The Great Awakening.
I'm looking
It's
at it.
Mickey something. He did a video and he talked about every large protest, every civil rights movement in history always results in the end in the leadership of these movements turning on each other. And what I found out last December was that the Liberal government of Canada believed that this was going to happen. They believed, they were banking on the fact that we would start turning on each other.
Right.
We didn't during the convoy, but we did after. And that's a really disheartening thing. I'm a little bit guilty of engaging in some of it myself, because I don't like to see the people that I care about being so viciously attacked out in the public sphere. It's not fair. And these allegations are very unjust. They're wrong. They're flat out lies. And I hate seeing it. But at some point, I hate bullies more. Yeah, Mickey Willis. Yeah. And so I hate bullies more. And sometimes I feel like, lawyers, for example, Keith and Eva, they can't come out and publicly defend themselves. They're bound by their professional code of conduct.
Yep. Yep.
They can't speak for themselves in this stuff. And when I see them being lied about or people accusing them of things, Keith and Eva are being sued. They can't talk about it though. right? And Keith is probably going to send me a text right now saying, don't talk about that. But these people have put their entire professional careers on the line.
Yeah.
And every day they're still in the trench and they're still fighting, and they're behind the scenes, they're working, and it's really difficult to watch people I care about who've given so much get dragged through the mud, and their characters attacked, their credibility being attacked, because they're certainly very virtuous Canadians. They're very patriotic people. More so than a lot of soldiers that I worked with. These people love this country and they're fighting for it. But unfortunately, they're lawyers, right? So people have a different expectation of them. And again, they can't come out and defend themselves. But I can tell you, there are some pretty phenomenal lawyers out there that are fighting behind the scenes and fighting on our behalf. They just can't come out and talk about it publicly. They just can't. When they do, their careers are going to be destroyed, and that'll be the end of their fight. So it's tough, and I think one thing I would caution everybody there, when these men get out of jail and they're home, you gotta be aware that there could be some nasty things being said. There's going to be infighting. There's going to be backstabbing and all this, and it's going to come out of places that you couldn't even possibly have believed that it would come from.
Right.
You got to turn it off. You got to ignore it, walk away, don't engage in it. The more you give it, it's like a kite. You give it wind, it's going to keep flying. You walk away, you ignore it, don't engage in it. It is beneath you. It is absolutely beneath you to engage in that kind of nonsense. So when you see it happening, walk away. It'll eventually end.
And we're absolutely expecting the media to say things like loophole and got away with it if they and all that kind of stuff.
Yep. Oh, the media doesn't matter what they say. Doesn't matter what they say. They're going to lie. We know they're going to lie. They know they lie. We all know they lie. So we just don't have to participate in the lies. It's a choice. It's a painful, evolved choice that we have to make, to not listen to these people, to ignore them, because they don't matter. They really don't.
And now I'm frustrated because I'm thinking about this publication ban that got put in today. And what it actually creates is the environment where anybody can put out any story and say whatever they want, but we can't correct it with the truth, because the truth is under the ban. So I can't even go online and say, well, that's not true, because... So we're going to get nothing but dis, and malinformation out there about these guys for the next little bit.
That is true. That's going to happen. But now that you know that that's going to happen, you're just going to have to roll with it. But the people that don't support these men and their families are never going to support them. They're never going to support them no matter what you say or do anyway. The people that do, they know the truth. They understand what's really going on here, and they know what's at stake. And when these guys get out and they sit down with their families and they write a book about their experiences, then the world's going to know what the hell happened. They're going to know the truth then. So, patience is a virtue, and man, I can tell you these families have some real patience, but you're going to need a little bit more. And it's unfortunate because you want to just scream at the top of your lungs and smash things. But the reality is you're going to go through some tough times when the guys get out of jail, and you're going to have to be better than it. That's all you can do. You're going to have to be the example. I'll tell you, my old commanding officer, I'm still close friends with him. He's the only person who reached out from me from my entire military career since, I've been involved in the convoy. And he said to me last October, and I carry this around every day. He said to me, don't be a guru. Just be an example of somebody who's willing to stand up and tell the truth. That's all you've got. You don't tell people what to do. Don't give advice. Just be an example of somebody that will stand up and tell the truth. That's it.
And now, can you maybe give some advice to the men for when they come out on how to start rebuilding and how to kind of put stuff away and get back to it? Because you've been going through it a bit, right?
Do you know what? This is what I would say to the men. My concern is that they may have bail conditions which prevent them from being together. It certainly does with me and Tamara and everyone else. but I'm going to take this from a military context, okay?
Okay.
When soldiers deploy overseas, and I'm not a combat veteran, but when soldiers deploy overseas, you come home as a unit, and you slowly reintroduce back into society, right? You got to think, you've been overseas, you've been deployed on an exercise, you've been away on a mission. You can't go from that experience to within 24, 48 hours sitting in your own living room wondering what the hell happened. Somebody just, snapped their fingers and I'm sitting in my living room where 24 hours ago I was sitting in a jail cell. The human brain doesn't transition that easy. So what has to happen for the military context, and I don't know how the men in the family are going to do this, but you slowly have to come back into the family environment. And so what I would recommend is to look at the way the military does it. They get out, don't separate those 4 men. Like, don't separate them right away. Every day, I think they should have a little bit of contact with each other and slowly revisit into the families. There's got to be a long, drawn out transition from jail to being back in the families and in the homes. It's an important step, and soldiers go through this all the time. In fact, last year when we left Ottawa, we all scattered and nobody saw each other. And I heard stories, a lot of people went through a lot of depression when they got home because they never got to say goodbye. They didn't get to get any closure on that. So when we went to the Public Order Commission, a lot of people that I was there with had their families come to Ottawa, and I said, you wait until the last week. You don't bring your family here midweek and then have them go home. You wait till they get home in the last week. Sorry, you bring them to the last week and you all fly home together, because you share that experience together in Ottawa, and then you get home and you don't have to say, hey, you weren't there, you don't understand. It's like, no, I was there with you. We flew on the plane together, and we can identify. We shared the experience. These men have a shared experience, and they need to kind of be together for a week or 2 weeks, see each other for an hour or do whatever. But do that with the families and do like a gradual changeover. It's the way the military does it. You come out of Afghanistan, they used to go to Cyprus for a week together. Then they would come home, they would have to report to work for half a day for a week. They weren't allowed to just come home and bang, you go on leave. No, you have to transition. It's a very important step towards the mental health. And I mean, you want the reentry of these guys back into the family to be smooth for them and the families and the kids. It's important. So, hey, I'm not a psychologist, but this particular thing I've got some experience with. I understand how this works.
Yeah, and as you know, when you Google your name, articles come up that are not flattering, and it's not much you can do about that. They're going to have the same thing. So how are you dealing with that?
My girlfriend has the most amazing smile I've ever seen in my life. And when
Here's
she
another
smiles,
one.
Yeah. But when my girlfriend smiles at me, I know that my day is fine. It's fine. And I think you just gotta keep your circle kind of small, and you just gotta know who your people are. Trust in them that they're there for you. You can laugh and cry. If anyone thinks I haven't cried on Keith Wilson's shoulders, they'd be wrong.
Yeah.
I've had some dark days. I mean, it's been hard. It's been depressing to see everything you've gone through, and then to see what the state of this country still is in, and what's happening to people like these 4 men, and what's happening to Chris and Tamara and Harold. And even Pat King did 150 days in jail, and Freedom George. I mean, there's a lot of victims of this. I don't see any politicians in jail.
Not yet,
I don't see any of them being accountable. We're going to do a cabinet shuffle, but I hope these people don't escape close examination. I'm not a vigilante, and I don't believe in vigilante justice, but I'd sure like to see these people on trial publicly, and let the public decide. Let a jury decide. That's the way it's supposed to work. We have a right to justice, but we don't have a right to vengeance. Right. And I would like to see people get their justice. Have an open courtroom. I don't like secrecy. I don't like these sealed anything. I want the public to get their justice. and the families to get their closure too. That's what we deserve. So
They love that.
anyway, I didn't
Yeah.
come here to preach. I just came to talk. I'm
But
sorry.
we wanted, no, this is perfect. This is kind of what we needed right now, I think, as well. You guys, you liking this? Yeah. Yeah. They're happy with what's going on here, Tom.
Good.
Now we're going to turn a corner a little bit because
Sure.
you've been working on a podcast. You're getting out there. You're getting your voice out there. You're using your platform as well. You're helping people. You're helping me on my show, all that kind of stuff. That's so help pull you out of that depression. I'll help you do that. Because for me, I find it's therapeutic. Do you find it therapeutic as well?
Sometimes something happens, something so ridiculous happens that I feel moved. I have to speak about it. And maybe that is it's cathartic, as they say. I don't know, but I know there are days where I feel this energy building up inside me, and I'm just using a video camera to express how I'm feeling. And fortunately for me, that I do have a small following on Twitter and some social media, and so I decided to launch the podcast because I'm lucky in the sense that sometimes I can just put a few good sentences together and I can just articulate how other people are feeling. And I think that's an important thing, is we all feel the same way. Maybe we just don't know how to explain it to ourselves. So someone like me every once in a while comes along and says, that's what it is. What that guy just said, I might not be able to repeat it, and I can't repeat it half the time, but what that guy just said, it makes sense to me, and that's how I feel in this moment about that particular issue. So that's the fun part with the podcast. I like to interview really interesting people, and a lot of people are saying to me, like, it's not growing. The channel's not growing. I think we're about 4,000 people on the channel, which is fine. It's not about the numbers and the money and stuff. It's just people are saying, you're all over the place. What's your YouTube channel about? What's your podcast? I'm like, it's like Seinfeld. It's just a podcast about nothing. I want to talk to interesting people that know more about the things that I know more about. And I'm hoping that the audience enjoys that conversation. I had Kristen Nagel was my first guest from Frontline Nurses. She's being sued now, and she lost her court cases. She's been charged. She owes $12,500. She lost a lawsuit she filed against a defamation suit. They lost. She's now in debt for $315,000 on that one. There's a lien on her house.
Yeah,
right. She's not a nurse anymore. Yep. So I interviewed Kristen Nagel. I interviewed Jeremey. That was a really good interview. Him and I, we didn't talk about Diagolon stuff. We talked about soldiering. Right. I interviewed Roger Stone, who's one of Donald Trump's best friends, and we talked politics. And nobody watched that one, strangely enough.
Send me his number, though. I'd like to talk to him.
Who else? I talked to Chris Guy.
Yeah, he was fun, wasn't he?
Yeah, I called Chris Guy and I said, I want to interview you because the mainstream media is not going to give you a chance, and I want to hear what makes you qualified to be the mayor. I know what makes you qualified to lead people and to get them to move, but what makes you qualified to be a mayor of a city with 2.5 million people in it? And to my surprise, I'm pretty convinced the guy's just as qualified as anyone else.
I agree.
Right? Elizabeth was a woman who worked in long-term care for 35 plus years. We talked about what was going on in long-term care. I talked to a woman who has a PhD in psychology who was married to a homosexual pedophile who was raping her children and inviting his boyfriends in to rape their children when they were young. This is 45 years ago. She went on, did a master's and a PhD in trauma counseling, and now she's out there fighting in the schools against this wokeism and this ideology and all this grooming that the schools are doing to our kids. So the small notoriety that I've been able to gain has got me access to these amazing Canadians, and I just want to tell their stories.
Yeah,
I
I
want
know
to
how that
interview
feels.
them, and that's the whole point. I want people to know there's people out there like them that have things to share. I interviewed Drew McGilvery. He's really the main founding member of Veterans for Freedom.
Right.
But that never aired. We're going to redo that one because his audio and his video, it was just not a good day, but we're going to redo it. But Drew has a lot of experience. When he was in the Navy, on 2 occasions, he could have saved 2 boats full of women and children that were being trafficked. But he was ordered by the Canadian Navy, by the Canadian military in Ottawa, to stand down and not to board those boats and not to save those children. Right? So
Wow.
there's people out there that the public should know about.
Sean Buckley was a good one.
Sean Buckley was just a great interview. Like, I learn a lot every time I talk to Sean. I learn a lot from him about the law. I'm going out to Alberta in a month.
Yeah.
I know. We're gonna drive out. We're driving out there
Where
to
are you
Alberta.
going? Because we're going to meet you.
Well, I hope to go through Edmonton and get to Calgary as well.
Great.
We're gonna drive out, me and my amazing girlfriend and our dog, and I've got a couple of days with Keith and Eva, and I want to do a sit down interview with Keith and Eva.
Nice.
I'd
Keith
like
is
to
ready?
be able to do.
I know he's holding off a bit.
He's holding off. He's got to put together, and I don't know when we'll air it, but I want to at least in person. It's the only
gotcha.
in-person interview that I've got a chance to do. So I'd like to sit down with them and do it. But I recently picked up a job with Catherine Christensen. She's the head lawyer for Valor Law, and
Right. In
she's
Edmonton?
in Edmonton, yeah. And she's got me working on a bunch of military cases. I'm not a trained paralegal, and in Alberta, you don't have to be. And so because I speak military, she hired me because most of her cases are all military. So that's what I'm doing for her right now, and I'm still looking for a software job on the side. But it's hard because I found out that I'm largely unhireable right now.
Yeah.
Nobody will touch me.
I do still want to talk to you about that because there's a project. If we could put it together, it will do well.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I need somebody to help, but we can
Sure.
talk after.
Because employment-wise, I seem to be a little bit radioactive. And maybe it's just because I'm a 50-year-old software rookie. Like, I only graduated software with my degree in 2019.
My language.
And most of them. Most of
Okay.
them. Yeah. C, C++, C Sharp, or C++, you name it. Arduino, robotics, computer vision, AI, Python, but
You went all out.
yeah, and web development. But nobody will hire me because I'm a 50-year-old rookie, right? I didn't come out of school and get a job. I came out of school and started teaching. And then I got fired because of COVID. And then, I met these truckers, and my life has been very bizarre, to say the least. So,
And just between me, you, and about 700 people,
yeah.
are you coming to Alberta to propose?
Oh, I wish,
Huh?
but it's not.
It's a
not
beautiful
that.
place.
It is a beautiful place. I was out there twice last year. It's a beautiful place. 3 times. I was out there 3 times in the last year. This will be the 4th trip. But no, unfortunately, I won't.
That's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Now, would you guys like to see Tom if he came to Alberta? Yeah,
We're all coming to your house for a barbecue.
we can do that for sure. But this is Lethbridge, so maybe when you're in
No,
Calgary,
I was in Lethbridge last year, last summer, around this time, close to this time. I was in Lethbridge, and I spoke at a UCP event. I can't remember all the hosts, but I met a bunch of great people. Roy Bear was there. He brought me out to it, and I spoke for a few minutes. But Lethbridge, I enjoyed my time there.
Excellent.
I'd love to go
excellent.
back.
Well,
Yeah,
let's try and do something. There's a few people out here that would like to meet you, and some people need some attention out here, like James Sowery and some others,
Yeah.
Freedom George, and there's some others out here.
yeah.
But let me wrap up because I don't think
Yep.
Jeremy's coming back. Maybe he got the call that said get off that internet.
Yeah, yeah.
Who knows?
You could be. Yeah.
Yeah, but thank you very much, Tom, for your time. And if there's any questions, anybody wants to throw up a question for Tom in here? No, you learned enough about him. Okay, cool. So
Well,
let me
let me
Tom.
answer some widely asked questions.
Sure, please.
I am not a federal agent for the RCMP, CSIS. I never worked for the FBI, the CIA. I'm not Ottawa Police. I'm not Toronto Police. I didn't steal any of the money. I didn't steal $4 million of the convoy money to fund my Ontario Party campaign, which, was, if I won, would have got a job for $100,000 a year with no pension. What are the other rumors about me that are kind of fun?
I think. What'd you say? What'd you say?
Did you make any money on the vaccine?
Did you make money on the vaccines?
Oh, yeah. You know what? Last week I posted my bank account. And today I actually posted how much money in the last 6 months I've made on my YouTube channel, on my podcast.
It's not much, is it?
No, it was $130 something.
Oh,
And
wow.
I had to split it with Mary. She does all the post production, and
Right.
so it came out to $69.90 or 92 cents or something like that for 6 months of work. It's not about the money.
No.
No.
I got 22 cents from Rumble the other day.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
not
YouTube,
monetized on YouTube yet, though.
yeah. Well, YouTube pays pennies, and Rumble pays fractions of pennies.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but thank you so much, Tom. I think
Sure.
it was great for everybody to hear from you. You guys want to give him a last goodbye there?
You guys keep your chin up.
Thank you,
You got to
Tom.
keep your chin up. It's a tough
Yeah, and you
road.
too.
You got a little bit more to go, and it's going to get better. Has to.
I agree
All right.
with that. Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Alberta's calling you in a month. We're going to see you soon,
Awesome.
Tom.
Okay.
Thanks, brother.
Bye.
Bye. Well, folks, we're going to end up right here. I'm tired. I need some rest. I got to go through some stuff. But thank you very much, Tom. And thanks, Jeremy, for popping in while you could. And I really appreciate it. So thanks to everybody. Hold on a second. Guys, I'll just finish, please. Thank you. Live studio audience, you want to get going. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you all very much. It was a long day. We're going to have to get some rest and do it again tomorrow. I'll be on again at 6 a.m. and we'll have the beginning with Granny and family. Actually, there's going to be family tomorrow from the men. So this will be a good time to catch up with them. Thank you all very much. I love you, and God bless.